meeting to order.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
First on the agenda tonight, we have a proclamation, a Purple Heart City proclamation. And gentlemen, I'm going to read it and then I'll come down for the presentation. Whereas the City of Mexico, Missouri has always supported its military veteran population, and whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration in present use and was initially created as the badge of military merit by General George Washington in 1782, and whereas the Purple Heart was the first American Service Award or decoration made available to the common soldier and is specifically awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces who have been wounded or paid the ultimate sacrifice in combat with a declared enemy of the United States of America. And whereas the mission of the Military Order of the Purple Heart is to foster an environment of goodwill among the combat wounded veteran members and their families, promote patriotism, support legislative initiatives, and most importantly, make sure we never forget. And whereas Mexico has a large, highly decorated veteran population, including many Purple Heart recipients, and whereas Mexico appreciates the sacrifices our Purple Heart recipients made in defending our freedoms and believe it is important that we acknowledge them for their courage and show them the honor and support they have earned. Now therefore, I, Dan Botts, Mayor of the City of Mexico, Missouri, do hereby proclaim the City of Mexico as a Purple Heart City and encourage the citizens of Mexico to show their appreciation for the sacrifices of the Purple Heart recipients have made in defending our freedoms, to acknowledge their courage, and to show them the honor and support they have earned. And I've asked our only veteran on the council to join me tonight, Ron Lesh, presentation.
Mayor, we would like to present the City of Mexico, the Military Order of the Purple Heart, a special recognition award bestowed to the City of Mexico for your dedication, support, honoring America's combat wounded veterans, becoming a Purple Heart City, presented by the Patriot members of the Department of Missouri for the Military Order of the Purple Heart of the USA. I have only got one lung and I run out of air, so it's our pleasure. And I lost it in Vietnam. Thank you, sir.
Give pleasure, Robert. You kind of took some of my thunder away with your proclamation. The Military Order of the Purple Heart, Department of Missouri, Chapter 621 of Springfield, Missouri, would like to thank the City of Mexico for their proclamation and support. We're an organization comprised entirely of combat wounded veterans who probably wear the oldest combat decoration still in use. It originated with the heart-shaped badge of military merit awarded by George Washington on August 7, 1782. It was reintroduced with an updated design honoring George Washington in 1932. That was the anniversary of his 200th birthday. The Purple Heart is awarded to members of the armed forces who are wounded by an instrument of war in the hands of the enemy, and posthumously to the next of kin in the name of those who are killed in action or die of wounds from action. Only 0.6% of everyone who's ever served in the military has received a Purple Heart, and 50% of those was posthumously. So we're not a real big organization. It is an award that no one wants to receive, but it represents the high price paid for our freedom. It is heartwarming to us to have the appreciation of your community for the sacrifices of Purple Heart recipients expressed in this meaningful way. Thank you. What kinds of service are you in? Army? Send these pictures.
Next up is the approval of minutes of the November 10, 2014 regular session.
Move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Abstain, I was working.
Williams,
Yes.
Botts,
Yes.
Lush,
Yes.
Next up is a resolution, Bill number 2014-72, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign a hangar lease with Mexico Flying Club, LLC. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor. The attached resolution would authorize the signing of a hangar lease with the Mexico Flying Club. The Mexico Flying Club has recently changed leadership and officers, so this is not a new lease. It is a lease with this Mexico Flying Club under the new officers. So in order to continue the lease, we would recommend that the resolution be approved to update the agreement with the Mexico Flying Club, and there are no terms or conditions that change as a part of this.
Questions?
I move for reading of Bill number 2014-72.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Botts,
Yes.
Lush,
Yes. Bill number 2014-72, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign a hangar lease with Mexico Flying Club LLC, whereas the Mexico Memorial Airport currently rents a hangar to the Mexico Flying Club, and whereas due to the recent changes in officers for the corporation, an updated hangar lease will be necessary to bring the city's records up to date. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Mexico, Missouri as follows, that the city manager be authorized to enter into a hangar lease on behalf of the City of Mexico with the Mexico Flying Club LLC. This resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after the time of its passage. Move for passage of Bill number 2014-72.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Botts,
Yes.
Lush,
Yes.
Bill number 2014-73, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute agreements with various organizations for requested funding from the Mexico tourism tax. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor. The Mexico Tourism Commission has met and recommended funding of various organizations to receive tourism funding. To cover the details, I will turn to Roger Hamm.
As Bruce has already mentioned, the Mexico Tourism Commission did meet on November 19th. They did review 2 applications for funding, and they are as follows. The first application received was from the Miss Missouri organization for the 2015 Miss Missouri pageant. And again, the purpose is for funding advertising. The amount requested is $10,000. The amount recommended by the commission is $10,000. The second organization, which is a new request to the commission, is for the Decorate Downtown Mexico Committee for the event of the 2014 Annual Christmas Parade in Living Windows. Again, the purpose is for advertising. The amount requested was $2,000. The amount recommended was $400. As I noted earlier, this is a new request. The commission had about $2,500 of available funding to address new requests that would come up during this budget year. And following past protocol, when they get a new request, it may not necessarily be for the full value requested, with the potential of that funding being increased the following year, depending upon the success of that event. Staff recommends that council concur with the Mexico Tourism Commission's recommendation and proceed with funding and reading the passage of the attached resolution. We do have with us tonight representatives of both organizations, Ann Jolly with the Miss Missouri organization and Chris Newbrow with the Decorate Downtown Mexico Committee, and each of them would like to have a moment to address the council on the event that they are supporting.
Please state your name.
I'm Ann Jolly. I am the chairman of the board with the Miss Missouri Scholarship Organization. And Roger said something about wanting my address? No? Yes? No? Okay, good. So First of all, thank you for allowing me a couple minutes. I mentioned at the Tourism Committee, and I'm not for sure if everybody knows this, but we do have our pageant week in June. But we also do some other events throughout the year that also bring people to the town. We do a Little Miss contest, and it's held usually in July, August. It's an overnight event, so people have to come to town. They have to spend the night. I think this last year we had approximately 50 girls participate. Then we also do what's called a boot camp, and this is a event that brings in the Miss, but it doesn't just bring in ladies from the state of Missouri, it brings ladies in from the surrounding states. Like this last year, we had a former Miss America here to talk. They bring in a walking coach, they bring in vendors for clothing. So, and then I think this last year, we also brought in 50 girls for this event. Again, a lot of them spent the night because we piggybacked that with our send-off party, where we send it's our farewell party before Miss Missouri goes to Miss America. And then we also hold an orientation in the spring. Again, this brings ladies into town overnight. Some of them travel a distance, so they'll come in on Friday night. We hold the event on Saturday. In the past, we've had such things as judge seminars that will also keep people in town. But once again, utilizing the hotels and restaurants in town. So I just wanted to mention that we're just not pageant week. We also do other events throughout the year that bring people to Mexico. Questions?
Questions for Ann?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep up a good job.
Chris?
Good evening, I'm Chris Newbrough, 1115 East Promenade, Mexico.
What was the name?
Chris Newbrough. You can call me Mr. Newbrough. No, I'm the president of the Decorate Downtown Mexico Committee. Last year, we started this committee and got 23 full-time members to help us out, and the committee has stayed steady through the year. We are requesting the funds so that we can promote both the parade on December 6th and also the Living Windows event that we have. Last year, we had 6 Living Windows in our first year. We attracted over 600 people. That was a guesstimate. We didn't have anybody clicking, a counter, but that was a guesstimate. The square was full from 6 to 8. And it was, I came down at 6:15. I couldn't find a place to park. This year, we're anticipating much of the same. We have 16 windows this year because we believe that, we got a great chair in that position. That's Bonnie K. Gibson, and she has really ramrodded this to make it grow. But also, we believe that the businesses downtown saw the advantage of participating, and we had calls in January starting, where do we sign up? When do we sign up? So we're going to use the funding that you gave us tonight to advertise into the Vandalia area, into the Centralia area, try and pull people from there. Now, they won't be coming in and spending the night in the hotels, per se, but we hope that each year as we go, we'll be able to expand out more and pull Northeast Missouri and Central Missouri in to come to this event, both events. And I just wanted to say thank you for the funding, and I'm entertaining any questions you have.
I attended the tourism meeting the other day when the ladies and the lone man wasn't available that day, but
Sure.
They had a lot of discussion about that and was supportive of it. And I think, maybe in future years they could be able to support more funding.
That'd be nice.
In the future, but since it's a first year,
Right.
the request, and so they're just kind of wanting to see how it goes.
Sure. To give you a little background on why we came to the commission, we have been a grassroots organization. You guys helped us out last year with buying the lights, plus all the community groups, the Rotary Club, the Kiwanis, several other groups, the JCs, funded us and gave us money to buy the lights. This year, we chose not to buy the lights. We're going to wait until January because we were waiting on a couple of foundations that we applied to, and we're glad to say we got $5,000 in the bank to buy more lights, to put on more buildings downtown. So we're anticipating with that to grow even bigger next year. We're going to wait till January because the Christmas lights that we buy, the company we buy through, to put them on sale for 50% off, so we can buy double the lights for same amount of money. So, but,
Smart shopping.
yeah. So,
Do you have, there was some discussion last year, I don't know if it happened or not, like choir groups coming in and such?
we have discussed the choir groups. Bonnie Kay is supposed to be working on that as well. You're talking about having carolers on the square. Yeah, we tried that last year and we couldn't get the churches interested. We're trying to go to the church choirs and say, hey, 4 quartets, a quartet of 4 to take shifts on weekends throughout the Christmas season. And we couldn't get that all lined out in time. So Bonnie Kay is supposedly working on that again this year. I have not talked to her directly about that though, so I can't really answer your question on that. But that is an idea that's still floating out there. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Chris.
I do have a question, though, not for you, Roger. So, did I misinterpret what you said? Basically, we've committed $40,000, and if anybody else comes, we only have $2,500. So we're basically saying everybody that got what they got last year, and they're getting the same amount, and this is all we have left, is this $2,500 out of $40-something thousand?
Well, they went through a budgeting process during one of their commission meetings, and they looked at all the requests that they funded last year, and they looked at the revenue that was available to spend this year with Project Reserve. Actually, in order to get all the requests in, some of them grow, to grow some of them, just like in this case, if it does well, it could grow as far as funding. In order to do some balancing, there's probably going to be some that may even be funded somewhat less than a year before, because we've got more requests than we've ever had, and since we've started the Mexico Tourism Fund, or the Tourism Tax Fund. So based on trying to keep those known requests in balance, they had about $2,500 left over. With it so early in the budget year, as Ron alluded to, they felt like it was a very nice event, but they didn't want to start in December telling people, no, we're out of funding. So they are spending about $400 of that $2,500 with the possibility of other requests coming in. I think we're just now getting to the point where people are really learning about this particular fund and making use of it.
Well, we had to turn people away last year.
Yes, we did.
And that's why
And we actually put, based on those ones that we were not able to fund, they plugged those in. We plugged those into the budget because we encouraged them to come back. We thought they were worthwhile events, come back and we'll see what they can do as far as funding. I hope that answers your question.
So how much did you anticipate having this year?
I think the budget is showing spending about $50,500.
So $10,000 has gone to Miss Missouri, which I noticed they're here early this year. And then $10,000 is, hey, you're getting your money quick. Well, it's here, I understand. And then we have how much for from Missouri Life? Another $10,000, $12,000?
Well, again, the commission has not met on this yet as far as what they will actually recommend. But we've got funding running, of course, Missouri Life, as you mentioned, we're funding $10,434, which also advertises for a lot of known events by date. $10,000 tonight for Miss Missouri, and then of course we have a good number of others that range anywhere from $2,000 to $8,000. Again, this is just a budget. It doesn't mean that's what's actually going to take place.
How much did we fund the Young Farmers Truck and Tractor Pull last year anymore?
Well, we didn't fund what they requested. I remember that. I guess my concern is, if we basically tell people I mean, why even bother with trying to raise any of your own money? Because we're just going to give you money. And any other event that comes into town, you get $2,500. That's what we got for the year for anybody else. And we could have an opportunity come up and says, hey, this is a big event we want to hold in Mexico. And we're basically at the very beginning of the year saying, well, we've committed to all these people right off the bat.
You'll see that column, in addition to the 50,500, there is 2,500 project reserve, and that is set aside in case something unforeseen comes up that could be a special event, that those monies could be allocated.
I think it would be helpful in the future if we have something that says kind of what was talked about and why on some of these events. Because, for example, the Young Farmers, I see that they requested $6,400 and got $4,000, but then other events requested full amounts and they got full amounts for more than that. So I'd like to kind of know what their thinking is on some of these events. Because I look at some of these events from a business owner, some of these events are very tax heavy, which brings revenue to the city. And then other of these events, I wouldn't say so much, but they still get funding, a lot of funding, some of them. And I've asked in the past, is there any way we can track this? No, we can't track it, what kind of tax revenue is bringing into town. But I can tell you from a business standpoint what comes through, like she talks about Miss Missouri, that's huge for our community. Not only for the week they're here, I know you guys do other things because we have them come in, so that's money well spent, in this community, because other communities would kill to have that event. But certain other events, I don't know so much. And so in the future, if they're not going to fund a full request, I think it would be helpful if we know why, rather than we met and this is what we decided.
Of course, as you know, they do provide meetings, and it is an open meeting. Any council person, any person in the public can attend and, listen and make comments.
I know, but we should be keeping some kind of minutes, right? It's a public meeting.
We do. The minutes are in the packet.
Well, all they basically say is, we discussed it, and this is what we decided. It doesn't really say, from what he said and what you're saying, there was a robust discussion about the Christmas fund, but it doesn't say what the pros, the cons, what's going on with that. And if you're not going to fund something fully, I think it would be helpful for us as a council to know why that was that decision, rather than that's just what we decided. Just my opinion, but
I apologize. I tried to give that synopsis when I was up at the podium.
No, I know. When we had to turn people away last year, it really bothered me because we want to grow more events in our community, and to basically start out at the very beginning, because this is the beginning of the year, and say, well, this is what we got, 2,500 now, 2,100 with them. That's a little bitty out of $50,000. It's 4% of the budget, and you're basically saying 96% we're already spending that. So where are you going to grow at? So that's all.
It's $50,000. Was that a good year?
Yeah, that was one of our strongest years as far as revenue this past year that we had. So when we do this budget, we're trying to look at spending what we feel like we've earned the prior year, plus be able to use some of the project reserves from what we have and built up from those years. So if we have this late next year that our revenue is estimated at $46,000 rather than $50,000, well then in order to continue to fund at a level 50, we're going to have to dip into reserves. And we're trying, in case that happens, we will try to make those reserves last as best we can and meet the needs of the community. Now, if we turn around and we start seeing 52 or 54,000 coming in, then we're going to, the next year, try to spend that 52 or 54,000, and that may mean funding existing organizations to a higher level, or it may be a combination of the funding existing organizations at a higher level, plus be able to fund even new events.
I move for first reading of bill number 2014-73. For reading.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Lesh,
Yes.
Bill number 2014-73, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute agreements with various organizations for requested funding from the Mexico Tourism Tax. Whereas the Mexico Tourism Commission recommends to City Council that the Miss Missouri organization and the Decorating Downtown Mexico Committee be allowed to receive tourism funding for their tourism advertising campaigns. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Mexico, Missouri as follows. Section 1, that the city manager be authorized to enter into agreements on behalf of the City of Mexico with the Miss Missouri organization and Decorate Downtown Mexico Committee for tourism funding. Section 2, this resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after the time of its passage. I move for passage of bill number 2014-73.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Lesh,
Next up is an ordinance, bill number 2014-74, an ordinance calling for and establishing the filing dates for the municipal general election to be held in 2015 to fill 2 3-year terms of the Mexico, Missouri City Council. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor, this ordinance sets the dates for the 2015 municipal general election. It establishes the time period for candidate filing. Statement of candidacy will be received by the city clerk starting Tuesday, December 16th, 2014, through Tuesday, January 20th, 2015, with the general municipal election being held Tuesday, April 7th, 2015. This schedule is the same and in accordance with the Missouri election calendar. In order to proceed with the accepting the statements of candidacy and establishing the election dates, we would recommend that the council proceed with the 2 readings by title only and passage of the attached ordinance.
I move for first reading of bill number 2014-74. Title only.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Lesh,
Bill number 2014-74, an ordinance calling for and establishing filing dates for the municipal general election to be held in 2015 to fill 2 3-year terms on the Mexico, Missouri City Council. I move for second reading of bill number 2014-74 by title only. Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Lesh,
Yes.
Bill number 2014-74, an ordinance calling for and establishing the filing dates for municipal general election to be held in 2015 to fill 2 3-year terms on the Mexico, Missouri City Council. I move for passage of bill number 2014-74. Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Lesh.
Yes.
Next is a staff report. Purchase of an SUV for the Community Development Department Building Codes Division. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor, the current budget allows $19,500 to purchase a new vehicle for the Community Development Department. To cover the details of the bids received, we will turn to Rita Jackson.
The 2014-2015 budget allows $19,500 for the purchase of a new vehicle for the building official and other transportation needs within the Community Development Department. This vehicle will replace a 2000 Ford Ranger with approximately 85,000 miles. An advertisement for bids was placed in the Mexico Ledger on October 21st, 2014, and mailed to 12 local and surrounding area vendors soliciting bids for the purchase of a current production model year compact SUV with trade-in of the 2000 Ford Ranger. On November 4th, 2014, bids were received from 7 vendors. We received 3 different make and models. We had a Ford Escort, a Chevy Equinox, and a Jeep Patriot. The bids range from $16,610 to $18,469 with the trade-in. Our building inspector did go out and test drive all 3 of the vehicles. City staff has reviewed all bids received for specification requirements and the city's purchasing policy for this purchase. Staff recommends that council approve the purchase of the 2015 Chevy Equinox from Don Brown Chevrolet in St. Louis, Missouri for the bid price of $16,610.75.
I just have one question. It kind of applies to this one and the next vehicle that we're buying. I know last year we ran into some problems with some vehicles and snow pushing and such. Why did we decide not to get vehicles that we could use for dual purpose? Because, I mean, that's suburban. I mean, the Equinox is not going to be used for anything but just driving around.
First of all, it depends on the vehicle that you're using it for. This, in this particular vehicle, as a building official vehicle, it wouldn't necessarily make as much sense to spend all the extra money to equip this type of vehicle or for this general purpose for that. It just doesn't make sense to spend that extra money for this type of particular use for this department. It would make, and that's why we look at the vehicles that's in, street department or parks or wastewater or something, not for a general purpose type vehicle.
Your Honor, if I may, I have a concern. I appreciate the efforts of the Administrative Services Department in getting us the lowest prices. I think they've done an excellent job. But I am concerned by the ever-widening scope of dealers that we're contacting for bids on vehicles and other big-ticket items. And currently, we're even including St. Louis, Independence, Missouri, and Quincy, Illinois. I reviewed the comprehensive purchasing policy of the city, which was first enacted in 1988, and there is no guidance in it as to the limits on soliciting bids. Correct me, Roger, if I'm wrong. It's just getting the lowest possible price. In this incident, the lowest bidder was $319.25 lower than Mockins of Columbia. That's Don Brown. To my knowledge, Don Brown does not advertise locally here, and as far as I know, has never spent a nickel in Mexico, Missouri. Mockins does, I believe, advertise in our local paper, and I think there are some local folks employed there. If you take it further, the 5% advantage that we give to local bidders would have amounted to about $882, thereby making the difference between the low bid and our local bidder, our local vendor, $152.95. I think it may be time, and this is my opinion, Your Honor, that we reflect on our policy and perhaps add some type of an area or some type of limit on the solicitation of bids to dealers and vendors that may be reasonably expected to advertise or spend money in our community, for what it's worth.
I would say, as far as this mailing, I would agree, but I don't think there's anything that could stop. I mean, we still have to put it out for bid, whoever bids. I mean, you can't stop. If you put it in the paper, you can't stop who's going to bid. You can't say, well...
No, you can't stop who's going to bid because it's public notice. But if we're sending it out...
That's what I mean, you could...
I don't think they subscribe to the Mexico Ledger down there and probably don't read our paper.
They do not, but there's several dealers, as we know, in St. Louis or Kansas City, and we know we have bought from vendors from those, but they've either picked up in our public notice or they've contacted us specifically to be put on the vendor list. And if they've been contacting us to be on their list, then we send them the opportunity to bid.
However, if our policy reflected that we would not do that, we could certainly tell them at the time they contacted us that they would not be included because of their distance.
I don't think we can do that.
I would be concerned with that, too.
That's the Attorney General back there.
As an open public bidding process, I don't think you can reject anyone from the opportunity to bid.
Well, that's not what I'm saying, though. I think what I'm saying is that if they contact us and ask us to be put on a list, we can tell them that they don't meet our qualification. Now, if they pick it up any other way, that's up to them.
Remember two things.
Okay.
One is you have a local preference.
Right.
So there, you're trying to give preference to a local vendor. Now, if you're concerned about that, you might look at the definition of a local vendor. You could increase the radius. I think at the present time, you basically define a local vendor as someone within
The city limits.
County.
The city limits.
Right.
You
Okay.
either have to have the business in the city or the owner of the business live in the city.
So that's one thing you could look at. The other is, if you would have that kind of policy, Councilman Miller, a lot of times Roger and the other department heads will bid based on, and I'm going to use the wrong term, so correct me, there's a state vendor for various items. You get, and you can buy through the state bid. If you would put a radius restriction, and by that I mean mileage, 50 miles, 35, 100, that could take you off of the advantage that you use by using someone who's won the state contract. For instance, there's probably a state bid for public safety vehicles. There's probably a state bid for some heavy equipment that you would use in the street department. You get the advantage of that volume discount by buying off of that state vendor.
That's covered in the purchasing policy already.
Okay, but, so, I understand what you're saying.
That would be a natural exception to the rule.
Sure.
The government purchasing, that's covered in the policy now. I don't think it needs to be changed. However, I am concerned when the city of Mexico bypassing people who spend money here and going to St. Louis, Kansas City, Quincy, and Independence, and purchasing big-ticket items. It seems to me there ought to be some way we could narrow the scope.
I would agree with you. In theory, that sounds great, but you just want to apply it to car dealerships? Because, we do business all over the state with pavers and, so are you going to limit that too? Are you just wanting to do one item? Because Mexico doesn't have all these vendors for all these items we buy as a city. For example, the micro seal.
I said at the beginning that on bids or other big-ticket items, I don't know that we have to limit it to that, but the vehicles come to mind especially because we can buy vehicles anywhere in the state. We have them sold here. Now, granted, like you said, the micro sealing and so forth, we don't have that. We have to go out for that. And we post public notices for that. And we send it out. But on vehicles, I think that the average citizen here probably would like to see that we're buying them locally as we can, returning some money into the community. And maybe that's not the case. Maybe I'm just off left field, but I feel like that we ought to make every effort. If we can't do it, legally speaking, then that's fine. I've asked the question, it's been answered. But if we can, I think we ought to reflect on it and see if it's time for modification. I don't know how many times the policy's been modified since 1988 when it was passed, but I would think probably not many.
Yeah, a few times since I've been here.
That's my only point. I have to understand we have to purchase police uniforms, public safety uniforms from the St. Louis area. And I'm not against St. Louis before we get into that discussion. I'm just saying I'd like to keep the money as local as possible. Thank you, Your Honor.
And, heaven forbid we bought something that have to have a warranty work done on it. But I was told by the other ship in town, it wasn't Pearls, that if we will do warranty work, but it won't be as quick as if you buy them here. So it's kind of a catch-22 there also.
And really, Pearls is the only one locally that ever bids.
Yeah.
Why is it? Just don't want to bid?
We haven't received a bid from that dealership going all the way back to probably when it's Miller Kale.
It's been a long time.
They have to do a warranty order, but they can dictate how quick they get you in. Yeah.
And we are, the department, and not only my department, other departments are very sensitive if it would be some type of, let's say, a vehicle that we don't really have a dealer here in town that can warranty it. We've done that with tractors, we've done that with other equipment. We have to put in the value. We really don't want to send someone on the road or pay loading fees to haul it 100 miles to be worked on. And we do take that into consideration too.
I'm going to go back working on the scope of our buying next time.
I am.
Make a motion to buy the 2015 Chevrolet Equinox for $16,610.75 with trade from Don Brown Chevrolet, St. Louis, Missouri.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Black.
Yes.
Next, we have another staff report, purchase of pickup truck for Public Works Department, Street Maintenance Division. Bruce?
Yes, this is for a pickup for the street department, and cover the details of the bids. I will turn to Roger Haynes.
Advertisement for bids was placed in the Mexico Ledger. It was also placed or mailed to several vendors for a 1/2-ton four-wheel drive regular cab pickup for the street division. Bids were opened on November 6th with 3 bids received. Along with the bid for the basic truck, prices were requested for optional items, including wheel-to-wheel steps, a cross-bed toolbox, front and rear mud flaps, and factory-controlled wigwag lights. The 2014-15 budget allows $24,000 for the purchase, and with the options exceeding the budget amount, staff removed one of the options, which was the wigwag lights, which brought the price near the budget allocation. Funding is available to cover the additional amount from savings previously realized with the capital outlay budget for the street department. We received a bid from Don Brown Chevrolet. Bid adjusted without lights is $23,801. Gem City Ford out of Quincy, Illinois. Bid adjusted without lights is $23,935. And Pearl Motor Company here in Mexico, Missouri. Bid without lights is $24,424. This is with the trade-in of a 1994 Ford Ranger two-wheel drive pickup that has approximately 160,000 miles on it. Adjusting prices to account for the 5% local preference in the city's purchasing policy. Pearl Motor Company is the best bid. Staff recommends council approve the purchase of the pickup truck from Pearl Motor Company. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
I would like to point out one thing with the city preference. I think it's important to realize how big a deal that is, because we're paying more for just the truck than we could have got the truck and with the lights on this bid. We could actually got the truck we wanted completely with the lights for less than what we're going to buy just the truck for, due to the local preference.
And tonight, you're seeing a perfect example of the local purchases policy, where one didn't make it and one just did.
I move to buy the truck from Pearl Motor Company for $24,424.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Black.
Yes.
Next is another staff report, purchase of skate park equipment for the Parks and Recreation Department. Bruce?
Yes, to cover the specifications of the equipment and the bids received, we'll turn to Chad Shoemaker.
Okay, the 2014-15 budget allows $14,700 for the purchase of steel skate park equipment to replace some existing equipment at Plunkett Park. The specified equipment is manufactured by the same provider as the original equipment that was installed almost 15 years ago and matches the existing equipment currently in place. Since we're having purchasing policy palooza tonight, GSA contract pricing allows us to buy this equipment bid-free at the same cost as the federal government on a competitively bid project that was bid under GSA contract number 03F-0106W. That knocked about, I remember, Roger, over $3,500 off of their normal pricing on this equipment. We are recommending that you approve the purchase of the replacement of the skate park equipment from American Ramp Company of Joplin, Missouri for the price of $13,968.81. And we were able to use the savings in that to actually work into the agreement where they would come in and they would actually install the equipment. So we can reduce our liability a little bit as versus otherwise we would have done a supervised install at the previous price. So.
Sure, I did skateboarding one time in my life, and it didn't turn out very well. Do we have a lot of injuries over there?
No. Not trying to say anything personal, Steve, but no, and that's something that I do watch via the journals we get on parks, and the incidence of injury on the skate parks is really low compared to things like basketball and football and cheerleading and some of the other active sports we kind of don't give a second thought about.
That's because there's not a lot of skaters.
I'm sorry, I
have to say, there's not a lot of people skateboarding. They're down there hanging out. There's some that skateboard, but the majority of the time we go to the park right up there. And
there's a progression of tricks, and when you see somebody go out there and, skate and jump on a ramp and jump over a car, nobody starts out doing that. And so one of the reasons that we're replacing this equipment at this point is because, we want to make sure that it doesn't get to the age where it's getting loose and, we have surface issues and people slipping and, we want to keep it up to date. I'm kind of hoping the equipment we take out, we can manage to send off and have them refurbish it, but we don't know if that's possible yet.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, that's what we'll try to do. We'll save the stuff we take out and see if it's possible, but because designs change and surfaces change, they might not be willing to back it if we ask them to refurbish it. So that'll be discussion after we take it apart and see how much rust there is in some of the members and stuff too.
Any other questions?
I move we purchase the skate park equipment for Parks and Recs from American Ramp Company, Joplin, Missouri, for $13,963.81.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Bud,
Yes.
Lesh,
Yes.
Next is another staff report, appointment to the 21st Century Fund Board. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor. We have two openings on the 21st Century Board that we need appointment by council. We did advertise asking for interested citizens to submit an application. There are, as I said, two vacancies. Previously, council, if you remember, we had quite a list of appointments here at a meeting recently. Miss Kathy Hopkins was one of those that applied, I believe it was for the park board, but we had those that wanted to return for reappointment, and so we had said we would contact her to see if she was interested in anything else. So she has indicated an interest here, and so we would recommend that she be appointed to fill one of the terms, the unexpired terms here. And we talked to her about filling the vacant term that would expire in August of 2015. and that way she could determine in that period of time if this is the board that she liked, and if not, to give her an opportunity to switch to something in the future, or re-up at that time if she chose. So we'd recommend the appointment of Kathy to the 21st Century Board for the term that expires in August of 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Lesh,
Yes.
Next up is the claims.
Move to pay the claims?
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yes.
Lesh,
Yes.
Now we're ready for council comments. Councilman Lesh.
Okay, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and take time out to think about all the many blessings that you have in your life. And also, in regard to that, maybe think about helping someone who needs your help. Gary Jones was here not too long ago talking about the Help Center, and they are in need of some votes to support them getting a $20,000 grant from Walmart. And that program starts on December 2nd and runs through the 9th, and you can vote every day for your Mexico Help Center. So I hope all of you and your citizens will go out to walmart.com, and it's called the Holiday Makeover, and find the Help Center and put your vote in 7 days in a row, and maybe the city will, and our Help Center will get a $20,000 grant. The money is there, so apparently they're going to be giving out this to about 75 nonprofits across the country. So it's up to the community to support this, and so I hope the community gets out and support it. And thanks to Alan and the newspaper for supporting this effort. Your article in the paper was helpful in getting that out, so thank you. That's all I have.
Helpful too.
Councilman Williams.
I'm going to also kind of talk about the Help Center. I mentioned last time the homeless situation, and it was kind of a sad situation. There was a family right after that we found out, and she had 5 children, and she was being thrown out. They were able to help her, and it looks like they're going to call it Room in the Inn. It looks like they're going to be able to do some help this winter. But overall, anytime you can make a donation, food, money, whatever, the Help Center's a wonderful place. They try and do a lot of things for the community. Also, just a little bit more personal, not personal, but I would just like to say thank you to the police officers. I know that right now, in just a few minutes, there's going to be some stuff going on in St. Louis, and there's friends of mine there. I'm sure there's friends from several people in this room that are there from the National Guard that is located here in Mexico is down there. One of them happens to work for me even, so I don't think we always think about the job that they do. It's a hard job that the police officers do, and you think about the fact that, yes, a young man was shot, but think about all the action that happened after that, and it's hard to imagine, but nobody got hurt in that. Nobody got hurt, and I just can't imagine if I was in that position as a police officer and people are throwing stuff at you and stuff. I mean, it would be a tough situation, so I commend the work that you all do.
Councilman Nichols.
Wish everybody happy Thanksgiving also. I'm happy with our public safety. Always good morale boosters and always willing to help every time they get a chance. Wish it was the weather like it was last Friday again. Okay.
Do you have any comments tonight, Mayor?
Okay.
Council, I would note that we are planning for a work session on December 8th at the next meeting. And at that work session, we would discuss brush yard operations, and we will introduce some concepts to you in regard to how we propose doing that operation as we move forward. And And that's all I have.
You have the ring?
I do.
Can you go to that?
Sure.
I'm going to go back. Sorry, I forgot this, but I just thought about this. We were talking about public safety, and you mentioned last week, there was that young woman that died on 54. Where are we with the state process on examining that stretch of road out through there?
My latest update just happened to come from the major earlier this evening, or earlier this afternoon, was that he did actually have a meeting this afternoon with DOT and some state officials, and I understand that that is underway now. We're moving forward, so I don't know exactly what stage, but they have said they've committed to it, so.
Okay. Well, I would like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and a safe Thanksgiving. And he didn't mention it, but Councilman Nichols may be headed for Ferguson. And I just think we all need to be in prayer for those who are not just locally, but there and all around, that are going to come in and try to diffuse or help with a very difficult situation. That's all I have. Are we ready for public comments? If anyone would like to make a comment? Seeing none, I move for adjournment.
Second.
5 seconds.
Miller.
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Glad.
Yes.